When I first walked into a gym, all I had in my hand was a water bottle and, if I can find it, this little box of earphones. That's all I needed. Since then, I've lost one of the earphones and I've had to upgrade to this pair of headphones, which are much better, by the way. But in that time, my gym bag has grown a lot and I've got a lot of equipment and all of them serve different purposes. So what I'm going to do is go through every single piece of equipment that I use regularly and tell you how they help me in the gym. So let's start off with the lifting shoes. Here we are. It's quite simple actually. If you've ever tried squatting in trainers, you'll know that the squishy foam doesn't help at all. What happens is, when you exert force through your legs, some of that force is going to go to deform the foam. And obviously the foam being squishy is going to be quite unstable. Having this sort of shoe, solid base, that shoe is going to help you get a direct force transfer from your legs to the ground, helping you to directly move that barbell, and also being quite wide is going to give you quite a bit of stability. Furthermore, it's got a bit of heel elevation. This is about 3/4 of an inch above the ground, and what it does is artificially lengthen your tibia, which is actually slightly better leverages. So just quick rundown, good leverages for squat are short femurs and long tibia. So this slightly increases the length of your tibia. This puts more weight on the quads and less on the hip extensors. Okay, so next we have chalk. If you're a sweaty lifter like me, chalk is a godsend. I can't grab onto anything without my hands going all wet, and even right now, my hands are glistening. I need chalk. Chalk is a lifesaver for me. What chalk does is, it puts a dry powder on your hands. Obviously that's liquid chalk. Once the solvent bit dries off, you're left with a dry powder on your hand that absorbs sweat, makes sure that everything you hold on to is dry, so there's no chance of slipping. Pretty simple. Next, let's look at the wrist wraps. This is actually one of my staples. If I'm going to the gym with the least amount of equipment possible, usually I'll just pack some wrist wraps and the lifting straps. So wrist straps, what they do is they cross the wrist joint and they keep it stable, they keep it immobile. In a bench press or overhead press or squat, you don't want the wrist to be bending back too much. Not just bending back, you don't want it to be moving. Once it's in a position, you want to stay in that position and stay put. This gives you the most amount of stability. Unless you're doing like a wrist curl or something, in the majority of movements, you don't want your wrist to be a place where force can leak. So what a wrist wrap will do is stay across that joint, wrap around it, and give you some sort of stability to help you exert more force by eliminating one of the pathways through which an energy leak could occur. Next, we have the lifting belt. This is the foundation of all lifting equipment, the most important. If you're going to get any of these pieces of equipment here, any of them, I'm going to say make it the belt. The belt is such a good investment. Let me show you what it does. So obviously it goes around your waist and you clip it on and you clip it tight. What happens is you take a big breath of air into your lungs. As you take a breath of air into your lungs, what's going to happen is your diaphragm is going to push down into your abdomen. As your diaphragm pushes down, obviously there's pressure decreasing in your thorax to let the air, enter in. So there's going to be pressure increasing in your abdomen as the diaphragm pushes down. As the diaphragm pushes down, all of your abdominal musculature is going to resist that expansion. These muscles are the transverse abdominis, the internal obliques, the external obliques, and the rectus abdominis. You have all these muscles, sure, and they will help you to perform the Valsalva maneuver and brace properly. It will help you keep your trunk rigid because obviously there's no bones in your abdomen. There are plenty of bones in the thorax, all of the ribs line up and keep your thorax pretty much immobile, but you need a lot of bracing to keep your abdomen immobile. But what a belt does is sort of act like an exoskeleton. You can wrap it around your abdomen and push against it. As you push against the belt, you can create more intra-abdominal pressure, actually have more abdominal engagement, and thereby you can generate more force. It's not that the belt itself is adding any force, it's just that your body is recruiting more motor units, helping you to lift more weights just because of that added stability. So actually, you can think of doing a free weight squat versus a leg press, a Smith machine squat, a hack squat, leg extension, any of these machine movements. You'll find that in machine movements, it's easier to go closer to failure. Of course, it's way more painful than squats ever are. I'd much rather do a set of squats than a set of hack squats. But the point is that you can push much closer to failure because your body recognizes that stability and then allows you to produce more force. Here we have lifting straps. What this helps me with is my tiny hands. I can't grip onto anything. Honestly, grip's one of my weakest things. I'm trying to work on my forearms, doing this Captains of Crush grippers daily, but you know, it's a hard effort. So in the meantime, while I'm working towards building that iron grip, I'm using straps. Whenever I'm doing some sort of back movement or posterior chain movement, I want to incorporate straps because I would never want my forearms to be the limiting factor instead of my glutes or hamstrings or lats or traps or any of that musculature. The target muscles are what I want to work. And so, when I put straps on, I can take the forearms out of the equation. If you want to go to failure on lat pull downs, and you want to go as heavy as possible, but you know that your forearms are going to fail before your lats, if you slap a pair of these on, you can make sure that your lats go all the way to failure before your forearms even know what's going on. Lastly, we're coming to the knee sleeves. These are different. These are different to all these other pieces of equipment here, for the most part. All of these items help you to lift more weight by telling your body, oh, there's a lot of stability, or giving it a bit more grip, or slightly changing your leverages to make sure that your quads get more emphasis. This works completely differently, and I'm going to get into it. This is how knee sleeves work. To put knee sleeves on, what you want to do is fold them up in half, just like this. There we go. A nice little halved knee sleeve. Now what we're going to do is pull it up your leg. Now that you've got it on your leg securely, unravel the top part up over your knee, and there we are. Your knee sleeve is on securely. What happens when you unrack the weight and walk out and then come down into the squat is the knee sleeve is going to start stretching. It's made of 7mm thick neoprene. It's a very elastic material. So as you come down, that knee sleeve is going to become deformed. As it becomes deformed, it's going to store elastic potential energy. And what do you think it's going to want to do? It's going to want to rebound to its original shape. So as you come up out of the hole, all that elastic potential energy that was stored is going to be released in returning the sleeve to its original shape. So it's going to assist you out of that hole with elastic energy. You can already see how it's a bit different to all of these other things. It feels sort of artificial in a way, and to a certain extent, yeah, it is. It works in the exact same way as knee wraps would. Knee wraps are used in equipped lifting, but knee sleeves are allowed in raw lifting. I'm going to go through the pros and cons of using knee sleeves, and hopefully by the end of that segment, you should be able to make a good decision on whether or not you want to buy them. I'm going to start off with the cons, because obviously let's just get them out the way first, and then we can get to the positives. It's not all bad. First off, obviously we have the fact that, just like I said before, it's a sort of artificial way of adding weight. It feels unnatural. It feels like a strike to the ego. If you've been training with knee sleeves for a while and you take them off, you'll notice a bit of a decrease in your numbers, and that's not very encouraging. See, a knee sleeve will probably add around 5 to 10 kilos. If it's a downsized ins knee sleeve, maybe about 15. Really, 20 is uncertain. Some people claim 20, I don't think so. I think somewhere around 10 to 15 is about the maximum you can get out of knee sleeves. Knee wraps, on the other hand, you can probably get 20 plus, maybe up to 50 kilos. A very substantial amount can be gained from wearing knee wraps. This is because when you wrap your knees, you're making the tightness from the start. Once the knees are wrapped, those wraps are not going to move, but a knee sleeve has to be able to slide onto your knee. So obviously it can't be made quite as tight. So there is a limitation in that regard. So I think in most powerlifting federations, I think you have to be able to put your own knee sleeves on. Secondly, this is a personal complaint about knee sleeves. Most people actually like the feeling of knee sleeves. They like the warmth, they like the comfort it provides. I don't think it provides comfort. I find them extremely uncomfortable to wear. They get sweaty so easily, and they bunch up behind the knees. Oh, it's so uncomfortable, and that's why I barely ever wear them. If you've seen my squat videos, they're almost always bare knees, because I hate wearing them. I do have them in my bag though, in case I decide to sign up for a meet or something, which hopefully I'll do by the end of this year, or maybe by the start of next year at the very latest, fingers crossed. So keep your eyes open for that. So yeah, I just have them in my bag, even though I find them completely uncomfortable. Thirdly, you have to think about the cost. The elephant in the room, they are very, very expensive. Why are they so expensive? I couldn't tell you. But obviously they are a big investment. Out of any of these pieces of equipment, if you had to spend your money on just one thing, it would be the belt. Even if it's a really expensive belt like the SPD belt, it is top notch. That belt is amazing. Better than any other belt I've ever used. It's so adjustable, it's so sturdy, it's so strong, it's so well built. And I know it's going to last me a very long time. Don't get me wrong, the sleeves are well built too. But they just don't offer as much of a benefit as the belt does. The belt is going to do wonders for your squat, much more than sleeves ever could. So if you have to invest in one of the two, make sure it's the belt. The belt is going to be the first thing that you should ever get. Now let's move on to the pros of wearing knee sleeves. First off, there's a notion of injury prevention. This is not something that's really backed up by data. We don't really know how much these would prevent injuries. We don't even know the mechanisms. I mean, the suggested mechanisms are they provide warmth and more blood flow, and so less injuries occur, but we don't really know if that's the case. So really, we can't make an argument based on, oh, they prevent injuries, so you should wear them. We don't know. But we do know that there is something called the placebo effect. If you think that something is going to have a certain effect, it probably will. See, they did a study where they told people that they were taking steroids, so they were taking oral fast-action steroids. They just told them this, and suddenly they got a lot stronger. Now, they split that group up into two, and then they told half of the group, oh yeah, you were lied to. They weren't really steroids, and then what happened? Their lifts went down back to baseline. But the other group, they just kept on lying to them, and their lift stayed up. So this just tells you, like, in lifting, the placebo effect is huge. So carrying on off this, if you think that knee sleeves are going to either prevent injuries or help you lift more weight, then just that added confidence could probably help you to exercise with higher intensities and probably feel like you're more safe from injuries, and just that confidence alone is enough to push you further. So say that the knee sleeves add 5 kilos just from the elastic. Maybe they add 5 kilos just from the confidence that you gain by putting them on. Maybe when you put them on, you feel so strong that you go in there with added bravado and you just walk in and you think you can squat the world. Just having them on might add 5 kilos just from that mental boost. And that's worth it in my opinion. Secondly, we have a sort of mechanical benefit. If you think about really, really tight knee wraps, what are they going to do? They're going to assist the quads a lot, right? But just because you have them on doesn't mean that you're going to keep the weight the same. If you had really tight knee wraps, what are you going to do? You're going to add more weight to the bar to compensate. So obviously the quads are probably going to get the same amount of work either way. Even though you've got this massive amount of assistance here, you've got a lot more load on your back as well. So your quads are doing about the same work. Wait, but hold on. Isn't there another joint involved in the squat? Yeah, the hip. So even though you've got all this assistance at the knee joint, you haven't got anything at the hip joint. That means that all the added weight that you've put to compensate for that decreased quad work is now going to the hips. So your hips are working that much harder. And the truth is, most people's hips are a lot stronger than their knees. And that's why the majority of people will probably deadlift a lot more than they squat. It's easier to snap into that lockout position with the deadlift to extend the hip than it is to extend the knee. So maybe having these tight knee sleeves isn't such a problem after all. It can help you to take the knees out of the equation a little bit, keep them in their own level, but add a bit of weight that the knee sleeves compensate for, but your hips have to take the brunt of that load. So you get more work in and you get a better stimulus to grow in the future. Lastly, this only applies to you if you're a powerlifter. I'm not a powerlifter, so it doesn't really apply to me just yet, but by the time I become one, I'm going to have to wear knee sleeves because everybody else in a competition will wear knee sleeves. And if you have them on hand, and if you don't use them, you're leaving kilos on the platform that you could have had. If everybody else is wearing them, why wouldn't you wear them too? To not do so would be to let your ego get in the way of your performance, which isn't a good thing. So in conclusion, should you buy knee sleeves? Well, I think it depends on a variety of factors, like your history with lifting and your hopes for what you want to do. To be fair, even if you are an aspiring powerlifter, you don't really need knee sleeves. But if you have the money to spare and you know that you're going to be dedicated and in it for a long time, I don't see why not. You know why you're at it, get a lifting belt, get a singlet, get wrist straps, everything. All the stuff that you want get it. Because it's all part of the process, isn't it? Once you dive into a hobby, getting all these little accessories can be a little bit of joy. It can help you to feel more professional, and once you get up on that platform, eventually you're going to be a lot more confident in what you put out. So obviously, yeah, if you're a powerlifter or an aspiring powerlifter, go on, get some knee sleeves. And other situations where you might want to use knee sleeves, maybe if you have a little bit of tendonitis, just having knee sleeves on can take a bit of weight off the quads, like I told you, just help you get in the gym and get some work done without stretching the quad too much. You're still doing squats, you're still going through that movement pattern, you're still lifting weights, and they might not be very heavy, but you're still getting in the gym and getting work done, and that's brilliant in itself. So that's another group of people, and another group of people still are those who might not be injured, but you might feel that just having knee sleeves on gives you the confidence to go in and start squatting. And if knee sleeves do that, by all means, get a pair of knee sleeves, get in the gym and start squatting, because moving is better than sitting on a couch. And yeah, they might be a bit expensive, but if that investment is worth it in the long term, it gets you in the gym, gets you building those habits, and gets you enjoying squatting, then that's all that matters. Hopefully this video has fully evaluated knee sleeves for you and put you in a better position to know whether or not they're right for you. And of course, if you want to follow along on my journey, which is hopefully going to be far into the future, then make sure you stay subscribed. That's it for this video, and see you all next time.